Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about how to apply for a Canadian work permit. So again, I always say this to you guys. Number one, if you see me look down, it's because I've written down my copious notes and I want to make sure I cover everything. And number two, if something I say has changed in law and you are aware of that, please try and be nice in expressing that. There's no need to be aggressive or rude. Okay, so let's get started. Now, a Canadian work permit will allow you to work in Canada for up to 4 years, which is really cool, and it can also qualify you for future permanent residency in the country, and it is a beautiful country and it's definitely worth giving a shot too. Now, the Canadian work permit is for non-residents or non-citizens. So you can't be a citizen and apply for a work permit, but I don't see why you would anyways, because you're not going to need it, because if you're Canadian, you can work wherever you want. Now, in order to get a work permit, you need to have a legitimate job offer. And the Canadian Embassy actually has a list of companies that you are not allowed to be hired from, or if you are offered a job through that company, they will not approve your work permit because they are not eligible for sponsorship. So make sure you are offered a job from a company that is in fact eligible. They're going to look at whatever company that wants to sponsor you. They are going to look at their history and see how have they been in the past. Have they employed other people from overseas? What were their salaries like? What are the work conditions like? And also they're going to check and see if that company complies with federal and provincial laws. So that's not stuff that you need to worry about, but what I would suggest is if you are applying for a work permit and you've been offered a job from Canada, make sure that the company is in fact legitimate. Google them. We have internet at our fingertips now. So just Google them and make sure they are in fact a legitimate company. There's been no complaints filed against them, and that you are not being set up for a fraud or anything like that. Especially if they're asking you to pay them money to offer you a job, or they're asking you to pay for your work visa or work permit. Things like that should throw you off, and you should realize that that's not in fact a legitimate company, because the laws do require that the company cover all these costs, and it's actually not a lot of money. I think it costs the company around $500 to sponsor you, unless there's other legal fees and stuff, which I'm not aware of. So if you are in the country, you've been offered your work permit and you're in Canada, and within those 4 years you decide you want to leave for whatever reason, let's say you're sick and you can't afford healthcare in Canada, or I thought I was going to sneeze. And if you have to go visit your family or whatever, in that 4-year period, you need to provide all the necessary documents to the immigration department, because they need to know what's going on. And also, it can affect your 4 years of employment in Canada, which could potentially affect, if you want to stay there permanently or your future in the company. Now, for the employer, I have a list of things that they need to do. They need to prove that they're legitimate. They need to pay a certain fee on behalf of you and themselves to get you to become part of their company, and they need to prove that they actually do have need for you. The big controversy, or I guess the big hiccup when you apply for a work permit in any country, especially a developed country, is that the company often has to prove that they can't get that labor within the Canadian workforce. Why would the government undergo all the hassle to bring a immigrant into the company when they can easily hire someone within the country that would not cost them as much money? And obviously they might be putting themselves at risk because they don't know your background. But that is taken care of, because with the Canadian work visa, you have to go in and provide your biometrics. So you go into one of their visa centers, like the visa application center, and they will send you exactly where to go, and you have to go there, provide them with your fingerprints. They'll take your height, your photo, they'll do a criminal background check, and they'll potentially look at your bank documents as well, because you need to prove that you have sufficient money to take care of yourself to enter Canada. Now, there's a few things that you have to have done in order to make sure that you have to have not done to make sure that you can enter Canada. So you can't have a criminal record, okay? You can't be of danger to the community. Like, when they do your health check, I guess they want to look at, any previous mental health records or anything like that. You have to have money. You can't have committed any kind of crime or have a criminal record in your country. You need to have a passport. I have had people ask me questions and they say they want to go to a country but they don't have a passport. You need a passport to leave your country. It's a very, very big, important part of going anywhere outside of the country in which you live. If you have worked in Canada for 4 years prior to applying for your work visa in Canada, that actually disqualifies you for a work permit. I don't know why that is, and I don't know the reason or rationale behind it, but it is in fact on their website, and they do seem to stick by it. So I guess in case you've come in and done anything wrong or whatever, I'm not sure. But there's always exemptions from any situation. So if in fact that was you and you were in Canada for 4 years and you did work and you want to reapply for a work visa, I'm sure if you are able to speak to your company or your immigration lawyer, they will be able to help you out and help you figure out how to work around that. And make sure you don't apply for any of the companies that are listed as ineligible employers, because if you apply with them, you're not going to get sponsored or you're not going to be able to go overseas. Okay, now, sorry, I'm just turning the page. Okay, so the other things that I want to mention is for any of you who are watching my channel and are looking for information in terms of taking your family overseas, there's a few things that you should know. If you have kids and they're young enough to go to school or old enough to go to school, I keep feeling like I'm going to sneeze. If you have kids who want to go to school, you need to make sure they apply at the same time as you, because then they can go and start studying. Let's say you want to go and just kind of like suss out the situation before you bring your kids in. Then they need to apply for a visa independently and also apply for a student visa. Every single one of your family members has to apply for a visa to go with you. They have to pay the extra costs and do all of that, but the Canadian government does suggest that you do it in lump sum because it does become much more effective, much more cheaper, much more convenient, and a lot more easier on your family. So that's something that you should know as well. So I think overall on your behalf, you're looking at paying about, I think, give or take $500 Canadian or less for your work permit in Canada. So that would include your application, which I think is about $200, your biometrics, any other examinations that you might need to do. So just bear all of that in mind. Know that you need to have your passport. You will be required to get a health check. Show them your bank documents, a potential criminal record, and also any other information that they might require. So they might require your employment background, your educational certifications to make sure that they're in English, and you might even be required to take an English examination. So I think it's called IELTS or TOEFL. I don't know how to say it. So that's kind of it in terms of applying for a work permit in Canada. Next week, what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about how to actually apply for a job, and I will also look at how to write your resume, how to go in for your interview, what to say, what not to say, etc. So if you have any questions pertaining to that, make sure you leave them down below before I make that video and I can include all of that stuff in it. Hopefully hopefully this was able to help you guys out a little bit and get you started on your way to Canada, a beautiful, beautiful country. I will talk to you guys very soon. Till then, think strong and take care. Bye.